Welcome back all to the fourth of our Diogenes Masterclass sessions where we're going to be touching on red wines today. We've got three smashers lined up for you, starting off with our Chinese Cabernet Sauvignon Marcelin blend.
Cabernet Sauvignon and what?
Marcelin blend.
What is Marcelin?
So Marcelin is originally a French grape, a crossing of Cabernet Sauvignon and Grenache. Very, very similar to what Argentina did with Malbec back in the day, which was using a French grape that is relatively unknown to market their own wines, trying and attempting to do a very, very similar thing with Marcelin. They're growing loads of it and the potential is amazing. This particular wine is from Xinjiang region, apologies if I've mispronounced that in any way, which is Western China, just south of Kazakhstan and Mongolia. It is a fairly medium-bodied, red fruit-led wine. Touch of French oak, so that's where your vanilla-iness comes from. The oak comes through a teeny bit, but it keeps it really nice and sweet in that middle spot for wine. Chinese wines are very much on the up nowadays.
Is there a lot of them in Europe already?
They're coming in. They're coming in. I think China are making lots of lower end stuff because labour costs are cheap, land's much cheaper. They're challenging France's sort of mass-produced, southern France's mass-produced side of the spectrum, but they've got loads of high-end, really premium stuff too. This sits at a spot somewhere in the middle, which is really tough for us to find, it being good and not too expensive either. Which moves us nicely on to our second wine, our Texan Malbec, grown in Lubbock.
Texan?
Texan,
Is
yeah.
it too hot in Texas for wines?
It is really hot in Texas for wines. I think the biggest issue that they have is Texas is super flat. And when you have loads of heat, loads of sunlight, you do need some sort of cooling influence. With it being so flat, you can't grow on the coast because there's constantly floods. And if you planted and then your vineyards are flooded, that's no good. It's also incredibly fertile land on the coast because of all that flooding, so it's not particularly amazing for grape growth. There are no mountains where you can escape the heat. Whereas this is grown in Western Texas in Lubbock, which is a teeny tiny bit higher. It naturally builds fogs and mists in the morning, which actually slow down those sunlight hours for the first hour or so of really sort of scorching sunlight. It'll take a little bit of time to break down that mist. So it's a lot cooler in the morning than most other parts of Texas. So Western Texas is where most of the wine movements are going. We've imported this ourselves. We're the only people currently in Europe to be selling and importing Texan wine. Probably one of the better sold wines that we have here since the opening. It's always been on the list.
You mentioned to be it's been aged on something special?
Composite oak barrels.
Which is?
So composite barrels are essentially oak barrels, but they're made up of different slats. So this is 50% French oak, 50% American oak, and then again French oak, American oak. So instead of having to move from one barrel to another, which could risk wastage and oxidization, you've kept it all in one to get that complexity and build that sort of subtle, oaky, toasty flavour to your Malbec. It's a lot lighter than most people will see in Argentine Malbecs. But yeah, a beautiful example of a Malbec from Texas. The final wine that we're going to do is our Ixe from Italy. One of the few plantings of Tempranillo from Tuscany, and who better to talk us through than Mr. Alberto Adis, our superstar in-house Italian. How are you doing, Alberto?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Really cool. Would you like to talk us through this beautiful thing?
Definitely. So today I'm so excited to talk about this Tempranillo from Tuscany, actually from San Vignano, which is a town between Florence and Pisa. As a result, we have 100% Tempranillo fermented with skin in contact for 15 days, French oak for others 16 months, and then we have other 6 months afterwards when this guy is aging still in the bottle. So as a result, we have a medium body Tempranillo, plummy, spiced, and super mineral.
Cool. And why have they decided to plant Tempranillo in Tuscany?
The family of Leonardo's, the guy, and I'm taking the opportunity to say hello to Leonardo and Eva as well, Actually, the grandfather of them found an example of Tempranillo grape in the vineyard, something like 200 years ago. And after years of studying, they realized that they had actually an example of Tempranillo in Tuscany, which is great. A reason could be an historical tip of this town, San Miniano, which was a strategic point in Tuscany for the economic and the religious life of Tuscany. So, first of all, we are on the road of Via Franchigiana, which was a strategic and very important road for pilgrims that were coming from the north of Europe, actually from Canterbury. So after the English Channel, and this was the road that was useful for them to get the Holy Land, as in Apulia, there were all of the ports. Also, we have a very important connection with the Camino del Santiago. And so this could be a reason why they actually found Tempranillo in Tuscany.
So the pilgrims would have brought it over.
Yeah, definitely.
And is it selling locally?
These guys are promoting this Tempranillo in their town, as they are providing on September a big event on the vineyard with music and wine.
Okay, so I think it's a wine that truly reflects what we're doing here. It's someone who's doing something completely different from a really, really old school region. It's a beautiful little number. It's been on the list for a little bit. Thank you so much, Alberto, for your time and talking us through.
Cool, anytime.
You've enjoyed it?
Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful. Guys, thank you for joining us as well. I hope you've all enjoyed it too. I look forward to seeing you on the 5th and final of the Diogenes Masterclasses, where we're going to be covering sweet and fortified wine. See you very, very soon. Take care. Ciao, ciao.